My name is Phoenix Michaels. I've known Vince, well, I met him when I was 27, and we were both working at the post office. So my first night there, they threw me in the same pit with him, and we were alone for about 10, 12 hours. And by morning, we were friends. And what I noticed about him was he was a juggernaut. I'd never seen a human being built like he was at the time. You know, he still looks good now in his early 60s, but back when he was about 28, he was a wrecking ball. He was just incredible. I'd never seen anything like it up close. And I weighed like 145 pounds. I was just this stick-necked, skinny kid. And he started pestering me to come work out. And eventually I did. And when 10 years had passed, I put on 50 pounds. So he really helped me change my own life substantially.
Hi, I'm T-Sean Prescott. I'm here to interview people who know Vince Faney, and we're going to talk through some of possibly some of the rumors, some of the other things about Vince, and kind of get a general knowledge of what people think of him and if some of those rumors are true or not. So, to that end, it has been rumored through the social activist and gym community that Vince has, during his youth, reached a world-class level of strength and performance. It is said from some of the people we talk to that Vince gets an idea in his head to set goals and do what was considered impossible by other strength athletes, and then he does it. We talked to Vince, and he had some pretty remarkable claims of his past performance. He has stated that if his personal performance had been done at sanctioned meets, he would still be listed in the top 20 raw lifters of all time in his weight class. We wonder if his claims are true or an exaggeration.
Well, Vince is an exaggeration of human performance, and he's always been that way. He doesn't make exaggerations; he manifests them in reality, and it's amazing to watch. When I met him, watching him lift the kind of weights that he was lifting, I mean, I was a full-grown man, but I just, you know, I couldn't get under those type of weights at all. We went to the gym once, and he was squatting, which is one of the 3 lifts in powerlifting.
Okay.
And I could do 350 pounds one time. I didn't have very good legs, but I spent a couple, 3 years and got to where I could do that one time. And we went to the gym once, and he loaded up 350 pounds and did it 100 times. That gives you an idea of how far above he is, not just normal people, but other people who train. Now, this is something I witnessed. I was there to load the weights on. Mm-hmm. This isn't like secondhand or hearsay. I saw this, and so yeah, he's very incredible. His bench press, he would have easily had the world record, except for, unlike everybody else competing in powerlifting, he refused to even consider using steroids. Now, everybody else, they were, chemical experiments. They were just taking whatever they had to take to get a world's record, and he came very close to the world's record, training naturally, and being for all these years his best friend. And we even had a house, 3 doors down from each other. Each of us owning a house on the same street, and we ran a business together after work. Vince didn't have a lot of time where I wasn't watching him or wasn't with him for decades, and he's just never wanted to try steroids. And so, on an even playing field, had you denied steroids to the world record holders, he would have easily been the world record holder.
Okay.
Or if he had taken them, obviously, which he would never do, he would have been the world record holder.
Gotcha. So for everybody, let's kind of go into. So you mentioned bench press and you mentioned squat. There's raw lifting. Can you kind of give an idea of what all these different things are? The raw lift, the bench press, the.
Well, the bench press is, you lay down back on your back and you push up for
okay.
one time, some incredibly insane amount of weight. And through his training, because when I started, I was so skinny I had trouble with the bar. The bar was heavy to me with no weights on it. It's a 45-pound bar. I struggled with it. And by the time I had reached my peak in my late 30s, I was bench pressing twice my body weight, which according to him, now I don't know, but according to him, that's a milestone of sorts. But certainly for a skinny monkey like myself, who had no upper body strength whatsoever and really was not built to do powerlifting, that was quite an achievement, and I felt very good about it. And of course, it's due to Vince's training, because I tried many times to try to put on weight and lifted weights, and just got nowhere. And I started looking like a skinned rabbit. I just couldn't put on any weight, And he showed me what I was doing wrong, and
by putting on weight, you're talking more muscle weight, not just putting weight, but more muscle weight.
More strength, but more.
Right.
I was emaciated. I was very, very thin.
Yeah.
And I just the world being what it is, you don't want to walk around feeling like you're at the whim of anybody who wants to victimize you.
Sure.
And by the time I got up to about 195, 200 pounds, nobody bothered me. I like that.
And that's on the bench.
That's on just overall.
Oh, just overall
capability.
Oh, you're talking the weight.
Of
Gotcha.
a human, how it is with males in America, and you go into a bar and someone is going to start,
Right.
and they're going to look for somebody who's
Smaller and
weightish,
right.
and I was that guy. And anyway, I was able to change that, and that was nice for me.
So how much does bench press differ from like raw lift?
Well, the bench press has raw lift means these guys, not only do they use steroids, they come in and they have these shirts made out of, it takes like 3 guys to get them into this shirt. They have to powder them up,
Right.
grease them up like pigs, and pull this stuff over them. And a lot of guys are able to add 100, 150 pounds to their bench press total by wearing one of these shirts. And in a lot of these meets, especially the world record meets, the guys you hear about, they're wearing these apparatus, and it's like some sort of an engineered shirt. I tried one on once, and I couldn't bring my arms to my chest. I'm walking around like this. I literally couldn't. And then they put like, it's like 330 or 40 pounds in my arms. And I had to pull. I'm trying to pull it to my chest.
Gotcha.
So it's like a suspension bridge.
It's almost like an exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Vince, raw means you're just wearing a t-shirt.
Just you.
Just
no
you.
no exaggeration.
No apparatus.
Yeah.
And it's just how strong you are. And
Okay.
that's where Vince, I got to say, some people, he scares them a little bit, because we've gone to meets and he's not wearing any of that stuff, and he walks away with a trophy.
Talking about that, his training techniques as compared to the run-of-the-mill training techniques, what is the difference there?
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding. You go to a trainer, and he can bench press, say 300 pounds, and you're going to get so far with this guy. But if you go to someone who weighs the same as Vince, but he's benching close to 500, that's easy to quantify. Maybe this other person knows some things that this lesser person does not, and so
Would you say his techniques are unique? Is there anyone else doing what he
They
does?
have been unique. Now they're considered mainstream.
Ah.
But, you know, he had ideas 30 years ago that people would scoff at, even though he was performing like he was. They would just say, well, that's just coincidence that you're doing that. You just happen to be super strong. You could do anything. Well, now it's mainstream. The techniques that he uses now are considered cutting edge. But he was way ahead of his time.
Can you tell us any memories you might have while observing Vince performing at a level like someone would call outstanding? You know,
Well,
astounding.
like I already mentioned, he put 350 pounds on the squat bar, stood up with it, and did it 100 times
100
before he put it down. And the last 20, he was screaming, but he was determined to get 100. And
And this is not something you normally would see anybody else, basically.
never
Never.
seen anybody do anything of the sort. And they had a leg press machine, and that's where you sit down and you place your feet, and it slides up and down. And you're supposed to put weights on these bars sticking out each to the left and right. So he'd get every weight in the gym until there was no room left on the bars. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was somewhere around 1,400 pounds. And then you'd have maybe a guy sitting on it as well to add extra weight.
You're getting close to a ton there. I mean, you're...
Oh, yeah. And then he'd get down there and he'd do reps with it. And because if he could lock in his back, his legs were so strong that it's just incredible. And of course, we'd be sometimes, a lot of times we train in our own gym, in our garage, or wherever we had them at any particular time. But we also had a membership at Ironworks. And if you go to Ironworks today, you will see that from the 80s, Vince's records in the bench and the squat still stand.
At this specific gym, or?
Yeah, at the specific gym. And the funniest thing about that is his squat record. We went in there and he did one of these hour-long, insane leg training routines to where his legs were just, they were trashed. He was just weak. He was done. And then he says, "Oh, dang, I was going to try for the record today." And so he did it anyway, even though he's trained himself to exhaustion. And that's the record that still stands.
Wow.
Yeah, he could have done 200 pounds more if he did it fresh.
Right.
So you really would have to call him, because of the fact that he's never used performance-enhancing drugs of any kind. Superhuman. He's just, it's just been incredible to watch over the last 30 years.
So the raw lifting actually, if you think about it, it's sort of also compared, not just not having apparatus, but not having any apparatus inside your body either. There's nothing. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there used to be all sorts of tricks people used to use.
Sure.
They'd tape tennis balls behind their knees for the squat to give them a little spring, or
Wow.
just they don't allow that anymore, thank God.
Sure.
But the shirts are still around, and of course, steroids and human growth hormone are still around.
Steroids is, I know steroids is a problem, and I really don't know anything about powerlifting or any of that, and I've obviously watched the news a few times. Those stories are rampant. That's
Sure.
Olympics,
and in the bodybuilding
everywhere.
world as well.
Yeah.
And not
Bicycling,
just,
yeah.
And like I said, Vince has been, he doesn't criticize others, but for himself, he's always maintained, I believe it's possible to reach these heights, and I mean world record heights, training naturally. And that's been his core belief all the way through.
And successful at it.
Successfully
Yeah.
proven it, yes.
So he does have a lifting book, and he claims that in the book, he puts a lot of emphasis on mental, emotional programming, spiritual training, and all sorts of mind-body modalities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And elaborate on that if you could.
Well, it's a little difficult for me to elaborate because I'm the kind of guy who just, I'm a curmudgeon, and he's always had to say, come on, get spiritual, this or that. But he gave me some visualization techniques that were quite, he wanted me to imagine balloons, on the ends of the bar that were helping me lift, and he would talk about getting yourself into a place where you imagined the weight going up. But the most helpful thing was he started having me keep a journal. And it's funny, when your brain has expectations, you have a better chance of achieving something when you have an expectation of what that achievement's going to be. And he's proven that to be true for me. That in a journal, if I'm writing down like on a Wednesday, I've gotten 10 reps with a certain amount of weight. Well, the next time I want to get 11. And so when I look at my journal the next time and see I got 10 last time, I have that expectation that I need to get 11 today. And it really helps. It really helps for you to focus and say, I'm going to find a way to get to that number 11. And it works. So he taught me that as well.
So yeah, it sounds like it's more about using, like you said before, the natural techniques of convincing yourself or putting yourself in that mindset to achieve your goals instead of just taking the shortcut, the shirt or the drugs or the, that type of thing.
And like I said, it's not BSing yourself because it works. It actually does help you. And so that's a mark on the side of positive thinking. I would have to say that utilizing that, you can improve your performance. And they certainly did that for me.
And so, yeah, you are, for lots of words, a student of his, or at least.
Well, we were best friends.
Right.
And but yeah, I was his student, and we both had different skill sets. And here I was, completely lacking in any physical ability whatsoever, and he's superhuman. And then on the other side of the scale, there were things that I was good at that he could use a little help with, and so it was a very symbiotic relationship and friendship to where we were able to lift each other up. And over the years, we both had an interest in having a business, and we had a business together for many years, which we enjoyed very much, and we both had an interest in real estate, so we both invested in real estate, and I don't know, he's been a good friend for 30 plus years, still going.
And apparently he's still, he's still in the social activism, obviously.
Yes, he is.
And he's, I believe he uses these same techniques that are in his lifting book for the social activism. Of course, the emphasis on mental and emotional and spiritual and so forth,
Sure,
to achieve those goals as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's had to refine his expectations of people. He hasn't become like me, an old curmudgeon misanthrope, so he hasn't become like me, but he has had to refine his view of the rest of the species and refine his thoughts on how to motivate them, because he to his disappointment, he's discovered that some people can't be motivated, and that's just the way it is. And it took him a long time to accept that, because he's just so positive.
Right.
So it took him many years to accept that, but he's still out there swinging that bat, and it's just that I think that his focus is more refined. But he's generally effective. Whatever because he's willing to throw himself in there, and he's willing to put out whatever energy is required, because he's got a stubborn streak. He wants, he doesn't like to have his will usurped. He likes to, I want to do this good thing. It's a very good thing for me. It's a very good thing for other people. I want to achieve it, and these things are in my way. And he'll go over it, he'll go under it, he'll go around it, or he'll talk him out of it. He'll do whatever he has to do. And so he's effective. He's very effective.
There's a term I learned in the last few years called change agent. And it sounds like he kind of fits that bill.
I haven't heard that term, but it sounds good.
Yeah, it's basically somebody who doesn't just sit around and complain, but actually finds something that needs to be changed, something that needs to be better,
very ineffective.
and then goes out and actually makes those changes.
that's one of the things that that I think it hurts him to face in the species, is that a lot of people will talk. Matter of fact, he's written a book that addresses that, saying, I believe the title of the book is "Most People Talk Bullshit," and that's the title of the book. And I think that's what it addresses, is that people have a lot to say, and there's no action behind it. And he doesn't understand that modality at all. It's a mystery to him. You have a clear schematic, you have the time and the resources, and you're not moving towards it. Right. It confuses him.
You'd rather just sit there and complain about it instead of actually doing something, right?
That's not the world. That's not Vince Faney world at all.
That's not how the world becomes better. Yeah. Well, great. Any last thoughts? Any last thoughts about Vince? I mean, you've been close for a long time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and we still are. One of us is going to bury the other. We're old friends. But anybody who wants to train, you won't find anybody better. Period. There's no one else. If you want to put on some muscle mass, or you want to gain strength, or because he's a personal trainer as well, if you just want to be a regular person who's not interested in bodybuilding or powerlifting, but you just want to get into shape, especially if you've let yourself go a bit, and you need somebody who really knows what they're doing, Vince is your guy. Now, if you want to get involved with charity work, you won't find anybody more enthusiastic, more willing to go that extra 9 yards. So if you're one of these community builders or change agents, as you said, Vince is the guy you want to hook up with. You're going to want him in your army. So
the superhuman aspect of the social justice warrior.
Sure, absolutely.
We could go that far.
And he doesn't ever do anything halfway.
Never does anything halfway.
And if he were to do something halfway, it would be far in excess of what a normal person does. He's superhuman.
We'd never know.
We'd never know.
We'd never know if he did something halfway. For us, it would be way above what we would expect. Great. Well, thank you for talking.
Hey, had fun.
Appreciate it. I'm not sure what we could go into now, but thank you for listening. And.
Thank you.